Welcome to Bonnie's Beat. I'm your host, Bonnie Squires. We're coming to you from beautiful downtown Wayne in Radnor Studio 21, and we broadcast over Verizon and Comcast in both Radnor Township and Lower Merion Township. And we'd like to interview people who are doing important things in the community, whether it's a charity, academia, something special, events, whatever's going on, art and culture. And today, a friend of mine was able to drop by, Judith Meyer, Esquire, who is the president of the Pennsylvania region of the Anti-Defamation League. I think it's called the Anti-Defamation League of Southeast Pennsylvania. We've got a lot of different names. But anyway, the ADL is an amazing organization, and Judith is an amazing woman. Thank you for coming to the studio, Judith.
My
really
pleasure, Bonnie. And you're in my neighborhood, so it's easy.
You're right. Yeah, where do you live? What neighborhood do you live in? I forgot.
I live in Haverford, but Bryn Mawr probably is a more apt description.
Okay, so
Bryn Mawr, Haverford, off of Montgomery.
A few minutes away from where we are
About
right
12.
now.
12.
12 minutes, okay. Anyway, where did you go to law school? I never got to ask you that before.
I went to Cornell Law School because, as I mentioned to you, I married a professor, and my husband was teaching there at the time. And I decided my fashion career was grinding to a halt in Ithaca, New York. There were no fashion jobs. I had worked for Vogue. And so I said, time to think of something that will be permanent and something I can carry with me wherever I go.
You worked for Vogue magazine?
Yes.
What did you do for Vogue?
Well, actually, here's what I did. I won their writing contest as a college senior. There were 12 of us who won. The prize was a job offer with Condé Nast. So I had the offer, but I couldn't accept it because I had gotten married a month before I won. I never thought I'd win, so I got married, and then I won. So.
Where did you go to undergraduate school?
Barnard College, New York.
One of those, okay. You went to an all-girls school.
True. True. And I think I only applied to all-girls schools.
Really?
Yes.
I only applied to co-ed schools. I was not interested in and when I went to Penn, I was not going to be in the college for women because I was in the College of Education, which was co-ed. So I did not want to go to any unit that was only women. That's the way I thought about it.
Well, I got the best of both worlds. I was in New York City and across the street from Columbia University, where I met my husband in my freshman semester, freshman year.
How long are you married now?
You don't want to know.
I do want to know.
All right, what is today? March 20th, okay? Little more than a month from now, we will be married 50 years.
50? Were you married as an undergraduate?
No, but I was married a month after my 21st birthday.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And you were such a devoted wife because wherever your husband had a professorship, you went with, right?
Yes, but I gave him a really hard time. Our marriage was full of interesting negotiations in the first decades.
Where did he teach?
He started teaching at the University of Chicago, where he got his PhD, and then Harvard, which was very interesting. We were there for the Harvard sit-in 1968 of the president's office during the Vietnam War.
Oh.
And what was interesting was we lived in a working-class neighborhood with police officers filled our block. It was a Irish Catholic neighborhood, and the next morning after the sit-in, there was great perturbation in my neighborhood. The wives were all upset. Their husbands had been called out at night. And I thought the perturbation was because they were upset about the Vietnam War. They were upset about all the rich Harvard kids who had the time to go sit in the president's office and protest a war when their husbands were just trying to get a night's sleep. So it was a different perspective on American reality, which was very interesting for me. Yes. So then Harvard and then Cornell, and then the University of California, and then the Wharton School, which is what brought us here in 1988.
And your husband's still teaching at Wharton School?
He retired last year. He is now emeritus, but he is all over the globe particularly China, teaching, attending conferences, and consulting primarily to state-owned enterprises in China. China has been his passion for 25 years.
Does he speak Chinese?
He does not speak Mandarin, not at all, or very little. It's a very hard language to learn, especially when you start going there when you're 40.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
But now every Chinese under 50 speaks English perfectly. You can't get into university in China unless you pass an English proficiency exam.
Huh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah. English is the lingua franca of...
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, everyone speaks English, which is both nice and not nice, because when I'm with my colleagues from Europe, they speak 4 languages, and I don't. German, Spanish, French,
I speak French
Italian.
fluently. It came in handy the other day when I was at the opening of the Barnes Picasso exhibit, and they had Bernard Ruiz Picasso, the grandson of Picasso, there. So when I was introduced to him, I immediately started speaking French, and we had like a 10-minute conversation en français, and then he asked me in French, how is it that I came to speak French? So I like to say this all the time. I tell him in French, well, I'm an American, of course. That's why I speak French fluently.
Yes, every time I go from Pennsylvania to New Jersey, I have to speak French.
But it's a shame that more Americans don't speak other languages. But you help them, you help people speak softly and kindly, because your law practice now is arbitration and mediation. Explain what mediation means.
What it means would be acting as a go-between between parties who share a problem. What it is the settlement of, in my case, litigated disputes, commercial disputes, disputes you'd find in the courts, getting ready for trial, taking that dispute out of the court system, sitting down with the lawyers, sitting down with the parties. It's the parties, the clients, who own the dispute. They're the only ones who can ultimately solve it. So if you bring them in with their counsel and have a conversation, 90% of the time these cases resolve, and should resolve, because they do settle on the courthouse steps. Only 3% or less of cases actually go to trial. And why get that far? Why exacerbate the problem before you solve the problem? And so a mediator is specially trained to help parties talk to each other in ways that they can listen and hear and understand. And once they've done that, they can at least say, I understand your point of view. I don't agree with you, but I understand it. I see where you're coming from. Let me reflect on how I may be able to accommodate you without, giving you everything that you have demanded in your complaint. Or mediators like to say the dispute is never about what it's about. Yes, it's always about the breach of a contract. It's always about the sale of real estate. It's always about a lease that has been violated, or a franchise that's not performing. It's always about something, but it's also always about people disrespecting each other, and people saying, if you don't pay me this, I'm going to sue you. It is always about a fight, and about hurt feelings and lost face and egos. And unless you get to that level, it cannot resolve. And lawyers are very good at the law, very good at putting things in this box, that box, another box, giving you causes of action. You tell me a story, I'll give you 3 causes of action. I mean, that's what lawyers do. You have a harm, I have a label for the harm, and we'll go sue those bastards. But that doesn't solve the problem. That just tees it up. Ultimately, a judge will solve it if you default to the court, because it has to end somewhere. And in the Middle Ages, it ended with, I hired my private army and I just killed you. But thankfully, the law developed, and now we have much more institutionalized and humane ways of solving intractable problems. Not all, as you know, can be solved. But business problems should be solved.
I watch The Good Wife, so I know that not all problems can be solved by mediation.
I read the news, and so I know. Many problems will not be solved by mediation, but as business problems go, there are solutions, but the business people have to take on the challenge and the responsibility of saying, I own the problem, I will solve the problem, I just need some help.
What is your success rate, would you say?
90%.
That's pretty high percentage, Judith.
Yes, but I would say, it doesn't always happen at the table. I have cases that the follow-up is significant. You get a case to a certain place, and sometimes you cannot get it past that place until the parties take a breath, rest, reflect. Sometimes things need to be done, like information provided, like if you will, I don't understand your point of view. If you're right, if you can sustain it, then I will take it seriously. Right now you're telling me that I defrauded you, whatever, but you've got no evidence. You're just saying it. Tell me what evidence you have, and I will reflect on it. So you do some limited discovery, and you come back and you talk some more.
My mother loves to watch Judge Judy.
Aye.
So I don't know whether Judge Judy is considered a mediator or not.
No, she's not. She does solve problems, and she's like, the old woman of the village. She will call everyone out on their bad behavior and take them to task. And sometimes that's appropriate. You don't tend to do that in mediation. And you can risk someone walking out if you become too not neutral.
In your volunteer life as president of a big nonprofit, the Anti-Defamation League, the Pennsylvania region, it sounds as if you get to use your mediation skills, because part of what the ADL is all about is solving problems and fighting the isms in our society, racism, sexism, etc., right?
Absolutely. One of the reasons I was attracted to the ADL is because its mission is very much in line with my passion, and my passion is resolving disputes, and ADL's focus is the process by which I resolve disputes. That is, Bonnie, you've got to stop shouting and you have to listen. You will let me talk when I'm through talking. Then if you want to shout and scream, go ahead. I will be quiet while you shout and scream. But I will try and listen to what you're saying and hear you, because I need to respect you. I don't have to like you. I don't have to love you, but I do absolutely need to respect the human being that you are and listen carefully and see how we can solve our problems together, because we're here. You're not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. And we just have to figure out how we can live in this world together and concentrate on other things, things that improve us or improve the world, not concentrate on how much we don't get along. So the ADL is very process-oriented in that way. That's just a mandate to being civilized, that you have to acknowledge and respect differences.
The interesting thing is that the ADL recently celebrated its 100th anniversary, centennial. So for over 100 years now, the Anti-Defamation League, which was founded initially to fight anti-Semitism, but through the decades and through the century, it expanded its mission to fight any kind of prejudice and ignorance. And we got a lot of that going around these days, unfortunately.
Always have had, but it was actually founded with a double mission, Bonnie. It was founded in 1913, and it was founded in response to the lynching of a Jewish man in Atlanta, Leo Frank. And the Jewish community, because he'd been convicted, the whole trial was full of anti-Semitic threats. There was chanting in the street of "kill the Jew, kill the pervert," and the governor of Georgia,
I think so.
Said he didn't commute the sentence. He didn't pardon Frank. He commuted the sentence to life in prison, not death, because he knew that it had been a very biased
railroad.
Yeah. So, and he lost the next election, of course. But the community of Marietta, Georgia, where Frank was imprisoned, decided that it was totally wrong to have commuted the sentence. So they held a party and dragged him out of prison and hung him. And they took pictures of the hanging and sold pieces of the rope. You can buy postcards of Leo Frank hanging from a tree. Well, the Jewish community said, no, we will not tolerate this. And when they were founded, they said, we have a double mission. One is to fight anti-Semitism, which was alive and well in America in 1913. And we have a second mission, which is to secure justice and fair treatment for all. So they have always been aware of the other, not just the Jewish community that was the subject of discrimination, but of anyone.
Especially since 9/11, the discrimination against Muslims in our society, and with Donald Trump, the unbelievable negative things he has said about Muslims, don't let them into the country, and accusing them of all kinds of nefarious projects. The ADL, it's more important than ever, unfortunately, that the communities need the ADL to come in and do what you've been describing, to be the mediator, but also to point fingers at and to raise awareness. This is not right. This is racism.
It's never been right. It's never been right. Islamophobia
Yes.
is out of control, crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't, there are points of views on Syrians coming from war-torn Syria, but my feeling is mothers of 3-year-olds tend not to come as terrorists. They come to want to protect their children from the slaughter of war. So, yes, I can understand you would want a screen background of people coming from a country where a faction of that country wants your demise, but that doesn't mean you keep them all out.
The media did a wonderful job when they printed that photo of that little 3-year-old boy who had drowned on the beach, trying to escape from Syria,
Sure.
and the heartbroken father. Oh my goodness!
Yeah, they would not be coming here as terrorists. My family, when they left Europe, did not come as terrorists. They came for a better life. And if you're coming from Syria, you're coming just to stay alive.
Right, exactly. My grandfather escaped from Tsarist Russia because he was drafted into the army, and the day he was drafted, they all knew in Ukraine, in his village, that a Jewish boy who went into the Tsar's army was never seen or heard from again.
Sure.
So he traded, this is a story he told me when I was a little girl, that he traded his army uniform to a tailor for a suit, and he walked to the sea and he got on a boat and he came to America. Anyway, that's the story he told me.
And my grandfather did the same thing from the Tsars, I guess it was Lithuania. At 18, he got on a boat, came to America.
They were so brave, not speaking the language, knowing nothing, knowing no one. Amazing.
Yeah. My
Just
grandfather, he sold goods off a horse and wagon cart and lived in a boarding house where the boarding house owner said to him, "You seem to be a promising young man and work hard, and I'm going to start a business, and would you go into my business with me and be my partner, and I'll throw in my 16-year-old daughter as your wife?" And my grandfather said to my great-grandfather, "It's a deal." So, I mean, the opportunities that America gives you.
That's very, very interesting. Do you have kids, Judith?
2 sons.
Are they professionals? Did
One-
they pick the law? Did they pick academia?
Our younger son is a lawyer and also went to Cornell, and may have been, as I think about it, the first son of a female law graduate at Cornell. When I went to Cornell, there were just 16 women in a class of 160. Our older son has an MBA. So
What kind of work does he do?
he works for Robert Bosch. It's a German company that Bosch appliances in your kitchen everywhere, but he
Oh,
works for the
sure.
automotive side. They're one of the biggest aftermarket automotive dealers in the world.
Very
He
interesting.
does strategic planning for them. He's based in Chicago. Our younger son is based in D.C.
So you get to travel to
I get to travel.
to places where your husband taught before, I guess. Well, Chicago he taught.
Well, he didn't teach in Washington, but I get to travel to China about 15 times so far. Going next month, he's teaching for 6 weeks in Hong Kong.
Oh, well, Hong Kong is not China. Hong Kong I love. It's a little different.
It's a little different, but it's now part of China since
I hope they didn't
the
ruin
British
it.
left.
I hope they didn't ruin it. because
It's
I
changed.
loved Hong Kong.
It's changed.
It was, I used to call it the ultimate New York because it went 24 hours a day. It was just remarkable. If you wanted a suit or you wanted a necklace, you'd bring a picture, you'd show it to them in the morning, and by the afternoon it would be delivered to your hotel.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how complicated it was, they work hard in
They
Hong
do
Kong.
work very hard. Yeah, the Chinese are very, they also admire Jews a lot, which is interesting, for family values, for willingness to work hard, for the huge value we put on education. When I went to law school, my father said, "You want to be a lawyer? Why? Lawyers are sharks. They're horrible. I hate dealing with lawyers. Why do you want to be a lawyer?" And I said, I think essentially, it was in the 70s, I said, "Because I can, Daddy. Women can go to law school now." And he said, "Well, let's look at it this way." He said, "It's education, okay? I believe in education. You want more education, I'll pay for it." So, but that's, that's, I think it's an immigrant value. It is a Jewish value. And also the feeling that you never know where you'll end up, or God forbid, America wouldn't be the first country that said to its Jews, "Thank you, but goodbye." And the only thing you can take with you is what you've got in your head. So education has always been very important to any people who feel vulnerable.
Speaking of, we want to talk about the ADL Walk Against Hate. You want to hand me that little
Yeah.
brochure?
This is Let's Take a Step in the Right Direction, which is a step against hate.
Can we get this on camera, Julia? A little closer? Okay, here we go. On Sunday, May 18th,
15th.
May 15th, excuse me. Sunday, May 15th at the Navy Yard.
Absolutely.
Right?
The Navy Yard, yes.
At the end of Broad Street. There will be thousands of people who will put down some money to be part of a team to raise money for the wonderful educational efforts that the Anti-Defamation League carries out all year round.
We do. In the schools, with law enforcement, in the universities, we are everywhere where there is hate. And
Combating hate.
always.
The interesting thing about the ADL's relationship with the Philadelphia Police Department is that for years now, every graduating class from the police academy is taken by the ADL to Washington, D.C., and they expose them to the Holocaust Museum.
There.
And they give them lessons in combating hatred and prejudice and so on. And I've heard some of the police, they come and they report to the ADL board, and it really turns their heads. I mean, they learn so much, and it's useful information that they can apply as soon as they get back on the beat or get back into the precinct.
They are very impressed and humbled by the experience, and they say it makes them much better community servants. And we're also in the schools doing No Place for Hate programs. We hold a youth conference.
Oh, there are hundreds of schools that have signed pledges that they'll do 3 or 4 special projects in the course of a year that bring together diverse groups of students and help the kids understand that different is worthwhile. Different is not a negative. And you need to be open to looking at how other people live, believe, and so on.
And among teenagers, the stratification, if you're in any way different, we hate you. If you're disabled, if you are in any way weak or different, the bullying that goes on, the cliquishness, it's very painful to teenagers, and some of them, it's very harmful. The suicides that have resulted from children who are bullied on the web.
Well, the ADL has been a national leader in combating cyberbullying,
Yes.
which is a whole new, kids are walking around with their iPads and they're doing bad things to each other, calling each other names, making up lies about each other. And the ADL has really been very innovative and a leader in fighting cyberbullying.
Right, and getting kids to stand up and say to other kids, "That's not right, that's not fair, don't do it."
Absolutely. What are some other elements of the May 15th, the Walk Against Hate?
We are going to have a wonderful diversity expo with a lot of organizations that represent the diverse groups in our community. They'll have their own stands and give out literature. We are going to have, we're one signature away from having a absolutely fabulous, nationally known young rapper, singer, actor, major presence on our stage. He will do a whole show. This is, I can't give his name yet because I said one signature away. He has Philadelphia roots, and this will be a showstopper. I don't know how we will keep the crowds away from wanting to walk or
Now, let's put
stand
up
and
the
listen.
information on the screen to let people know how they can sign up for the Walk Against Hate. The website is walkagainsthate.org, and there's a phone number, 215-568-2223, 215-568-2223. You can just Google Philadelphia ADL if you want.
And
you
put
can,
in walk, a Philadelphia ADL,
Yes.
a Walk Against Hate. You'll get it, and you can
Right.
register yourself, you can register a team, you can register your company to walk. You can compete with other teams for fundraising. It's lots of opportunities.
Lots of opportunities. And it brings the whole community together.
That's the point.
Yes.
The young, the old, the
How many people were last year? I think something like 2,500 people participated last
about,
year.
and we're hoping to
Yeah.
double that. And the Navy Yard is a good place, a much larger venue.
Yes, absolutely.
So we
So
are.
put on your walking shoes.
Yes, we are pumped. This is all very, very exciting.
You can see why Judith was elected president of the board of the ADL. They haven't had too many women presidents. Have to say that.
I think I'm the third, but that, not breaking any barriers. It's becoming, yes, common, which is wonderful.
So, but yeah, the ADL is just, and Truth in Advertising. I'm one of Judith's board members. I've been a board member
And a
for a long
wonderful
time.
board member. Bonnie is a blessing.
But it's very exciting to have a really accomplished, intelligent, passionate woman like Judith Meyer as the president, because it sets a tone for all those guys in suits, doesn't it, Judith?
Yeah, all those guys in suits. And what's so wonderful at the walk is to see all those young faces and all different color faces and gender different people coming out and walking and hugging each other and being happy to be together. It's why we're all here.
Because we do outreach to the African American community, the Muslim American community, the Korean American community. You name the the other, and we've got all kinds of relationships going. And there's a special committee that does outreach to all these different ethnic groups, and they all come and they all support the march because they know how important the work is that the ADL does.
They do, and they should. And as many of you who want to feel your own individuality, come and join us. It would be a real treat for us.
There's food too, right? Always
at 8 in the morning, there better
there better be something.
Yes, I think yes, there will be coffee and donuts and
Okay.
good things to eat.
Good things to eat, absolutely. And you'll also learn about the ADL's programs as well there, especially the training that ADL has been doing for years with teachers in parochial schools to teach them how to teach about the Holocaust. That is so fascinating.
We have a whole summer program
Yes.
called Bearing Witness, where we work for 4 days with teachers in parochial schools, teaching them about Catholic-Jewish relations. And for
Yes.
many of them, this is so enlightening and so different from anything they've learned. They go back to their parochial schools and feel like they are much better teachers. And this is very, very rewarding for us. And we learn about them. And of course, we always take in calls from people who have been the subject of hate speech, discrimination, abuse because of who they are, and we take those calls.
Or what
in
they
and-
wear.
or what they wear,
Yes.
or what gender they prefer to be. Swastikas on schools, displayed at football games. If we are called, we get involved. We reach out and say, "Can we help you?" We never intervene if we don't. If we are told no. I mean, we may make a public statement about something outrageous, but if the party who's involved does not want us to be involved on their behalf, we do not. But if they do, we are there with suggestions for ways to prevent this in the future.
Well, our guest today has been Judith Meyer, Esquire. I love the Esquire at the end of your name, who is the chairman of the board of the Anti-Defamation League, Southeastern Pennsylvania. She's a mediator professionally, and she's a passionate, committed leader of ADL and participates in all of the programs. So we hope to see a lot of you on May 15th in the Navy Yard for the Walk Against Hate. And we'll see everybody next week.